Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing when your ex meets someone new. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing when your ex meets someone new. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, one of your biggest fears is that your ex finds someone new. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 points to consider about if you believe your ex is dating someone else. So let's get straight into this. And point number 1 is fantasy versus reality. Now, as a Dumpee, you are going through a very difficult time. Your emotions are all over the place. You don't have a stable mindset. And hence it's even more difficult to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. It's even more difficult to understand the difference between what is likely to be happening and what you fear is actually taking place. And if you're in a position where you want to try to get your ex back and you see something on social media, for instance, to suggest that your ex is doing something you don't expect, well, this is something which can really trigger fear that your ex is now dating someone new. So for instance, maybe your ex on social media posts a photo of them standing next to someone that you don't recognize. Now, is this person a new date? Or is this person a new acquaintance? Is this person someone that they don't really know, and yet they are just in the background of this photo? Was this photo taken at a party, at an event, at a class, group, or club? You're thinking to yourself, well, I didn't expect my ex to be here. I didn't know about this. Where are they? What's going on? Have they changed my life already? Now, there are likely much more realistic explanations than what you're fearing. Because unfortunately, when we are a Dumpee, we think of the worst case scenario most of the time. Now, does this mean it's totally impossible that your worst fears are true? Well, sadly, it's not impossible. We have to be honest. We have to be truthful. It is possible that what you are fearing could be accurate. But when we consider probability, I would suggest your worst fears are very, very unlikely. Now, if you were to look at your ex's social media in 2 years' time and you see them standing next to someone that you don't really recognize, and then you realize there are many, many, many photos of this new person standing next to your ex, okay, maybe at that stage it is a more realistic possibility. It's years into the future. There are many photos or videos showing this other person. This might be the case. However, if we're talking about your relationship ending a few days ago, even a few weeks, months, even up to a year or so, if you are seeing your ex-dumper in a situation that you don't expect, standing near someone that you don't recognize, it doesn't mean that they are dating someone new. Getting into a new relationship is challenging. It's not as easy as you might be fearing. And especially if the time since your breakup has been fairly short, the statistical probability of this being what you were worried about, well, it's not really likely to have happened. Now, social media isn't the only way that you might be fearing that your ex is dating someone new. This whole fantasy versus reality concept, it's not just about social media. Maybe, for instance, you were driving your car, or maybe you were going on a walk, and you see your ex in the distance, and they're with someone, again, that you don't recognize. Who is this person? Why is my ex with them? Now, you will automatically be jumping to conclusions, but as we've already spoke about, there could be innocent explanations. It could be a new acquaintance. It could be a new work colleague, of which I'll actually be speaking about a little bit later. So if you have some work colleague concerns, keep listening through as well. But not all work colleagues are going to be people who your ex is in a relationship with. There are fears that our ex might date someone they work with, but perhaps it's just someone that they have to be with due to their work. Even if they are not in their work location, maybe they've had to go and collect something. They've had to go out somewhere together. That's just a work colleague explanation. It could be anybody. It could be a new friend or a new acquaintance, but sadly, you haven't met because your ex-dumper ended a relationship 2 months ago. And life does keep ticking on. It keeps moving forward. Your life you should be focusing on you. Your ex-dumper is doing the same. It doesn't mean anybody they are with is someone that they are dating. Again, the odds on it being so are very, very slim. This whole fantasy versus reality. So whether you see your ex on social media, somewhere that you don't recognize, with someone you don't recognize, whether you see them in person with someone, etc., etc., it doesn't mean it's what you are fearing. Okay? So you need to try and understand that odds are that you are imagining something which is not actually taking place. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please give this video a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is rebound relationships. Now let's consider that your worst fears are actually true. That person that you saw your ex with online or actually with your own eyes out and about, maybe you do get confirmation your ex is in a relationship with that person. Maybe you had the horrible experience of walking by your ex without really realizing that they were there, and you turn around and your ex is holding someone's hand. And it's not something which is platonic. It's not something that we can just kind of discuss away as something which is innocent. Well, the good news, Dumpees, is that this is still very unlikely to be a relationship which lasts forever. Now, I know as a Dumpee, seeing your ex with anyone, even if I'm to tell you it's probably not going to last, that might not make you feel much better right now. But if I was to tell you that generally speaking, if your ex is dating someone new within the first year or so post-breakup, it's not going to last forever, and hence, if they come out of that connection and feel that their life isn't going down the path and the route that they wanted, that you are actually quite likely to be on their mind. If I'm to tell you that, then maybe it softens the blow a little. Now, can I guarantee this set of events is going to play out this way? No, I can't guarantee it. I can't promise. But over the years, over the now more than 1,000 podcasts that I have put out to you and the world, you would have heard me say, in different ones I'm sure, that from the research I've done, I've seen very little evidence that relationships that connect within the first year or so post-breakup are likely to last forever. Sometimes they do. Occasionally it will happen, but most will fail. And this is because it is known as a rebound relationship, where someone or both people are trying to, as quickly as possible, speed up a new relationship to the level of the relationship that they've just left. Now you might think, well, why does my ex-dumper almost want to take elements from my relationship with them if they dumped me? Why do they want to get it to that level if it wasn't working for us? Well, it's because your ex-dumper wouldn't have seen your relationship as all bad. Sadly, they lost romantic emotional attraction. That's a fact. It hit the necessary low point, they ended the relationship. It doesn't mean that they hated every element that you had and you shared. And this is something that they might crave in the future. Now, for instance, and this is just one quick example, it might be that they really enjoyed going on trips with another person. They don't want to do this alone. They don't want to be a solo traveller. They don't want to go on day trips by themselves. And therefore, subconsciously, they're wanting to find a partner to fill that void. But what they will likely find, if they speed something along, find a new connection, get into a relationship, trying to live the life that they lived with you in the ways that they did enjoy, they will soon come to the conclusion that this new person is very unlikely to be ticking their boxes, to be checking their boxes. they are not likely to be the person that they genuinely want in their life. Because they are having them in their life to fill a void, not because they are feeling love. This is the difference. Rebound relationships is often because people are craving something. Now, it might just be the element of closeness, the thought of living together. Okay, this is why we see rebound relationships going very, very quickly. You might find out that your ex-dumper is dating someone new and they've been dating this new person for 2 or 3 weeks. And then before you know it, you hear they're living together. And you can't believe it. How can this be? How can my ex-dumper have ended our relationship in which we got to know each other slowly, we didn't live together for a year or so, and yet they've met someone new, and a month or 2 later they're living together? Now that is a classic example of how rebound relationships start and ultimately unravel. Because in that regard, the ex-dumper wanted to live with someone. So subconsciously, they're seeking that. They find someone that on the surface level, they think there's a connection. They try and speed the relationship up, trying to get it to the stage and the elements that they want and they crave. But guess what? Eventually, both people will have to get to know one another. It's almost like getting to know someone on the job, okay? Instead of getting to know someone and slowly building the relationship at a natural pace, okay, I'm not suggesting that people are really slow and stagnating, but it still has to be at a reasonable pace. Instead of that, in a rebound relationship, we will see both people moving that relationship forward. Certainly one of the people pushing it quicker and quicker and quicker. But you can't get away from the fact that at some stage you need to get to know one another. And your ex-dumper, in this regard, eventually will get to know this new person, and the new person will get to know your ex-dumper. The likelihood is they will not be a long-term compatible match. Why? Because it's very, very hard to find so. It's very difficult. What's the chances that your ex-dumper has come out of a relationship with you, which was a long-term relationship, and they've almost instantly found another long-term compatible person? It's just not likely. Now, might they find someone years into the future? Yes, that could be the case. 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, they are more likely to have found someone just as you are. As a Dumpee, you are just as likely to find someone that could be a good match for you into the future. But in the first year or so, it's very, very unlikely. It's very, very tough. And I would not imagine that your ex-dumper is going to be necessarily feeling this new person, is matching them in all the things that actually matter. And more importantly, that this new person feels that your ex is matching them in everything that matters. So if a relationship between your ex and someone new seems to be going really, really quickly, that is a classic rebound relationship red flag. And the likelihood is it's going to burn out and end as quickly as it began. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is if they are a work colleague. So towards the beginning of today's podcast, I did highlight the fact that I was going to be speaking more about work colleagues, somebody that your ex-dumper works with and that maybe you are fearing that they are now dating. This is somewhat of a common concern for people who have been dumped. If you're a Dumpee, you're automatically going to be thinking, why did they end the relationship? Why did my dumper end our relationship? And you're naturally going to be thinking, is there someone else? Now, a lot of the time, there actually isn't. Sometimes, sadly, there is. And whether there really is or whether there really isn't, your mind is going to be thinking there probably is, and who is the most likely person that you might match them with? Oh, it's that person that they work with, that person that they've mentioned a few times to me, that person that I seem to see them having a laugh and a joke every time I walk into the place that they're working. That is where your mind is going to go. Now, whether this is true or false, I can't say for certain, of course, in your situation. But let's just imagine, unfortunately, it is true. And your ex-dumper is dating their work colleague. Now, there are some very important things for you as a dumpee to realise at this stage, which hopefully will help you through this somewhat difficult time. And that is the dynamic for your ex-dumper and their work colleague. That dynamic that actually connected them isn't real life. Okay, this isn't something which is going to be moving forward what they will experience together. It was in one specific scenario, work. Okay, maybe in the office, on the shop floor, wherever it is, when they are in a position where they have to be, maybe they found each other some level of comfort, funny, laughter, smiles, a little bit of flirting. You don't want me to be explaining these things, but you know what I'm trying to get across. In this situation, this person and your ex seem to click. But this isn't real life, okay? And transitioning from this almost work-based relationship to real life is not likely to last. I describe it as, is this the real world? Is this the world where you're putting the bins out? Now, what I mean by that are when we consider the mundane life tasks that we have to live through, such as putting the trash out, putting the bins out, that type of thing. It is far removed from a possible workplace romance. Now, even if we're not talking about your ex-dumper, if we're talking about anybody who's connecting with a work colleague, anybody who is connecting with a co-worker, if you are connecting in that specific place, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be really good outside of that environment. This is something that we often see. Sometimes people can get through that and they can take it to the next level and to a much stronger relationship foundation. That can happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but a lot of the time it doesn't transition in that way. Now, additional to this is we have to consider that mixing business with pleasure causes stresses. As soon as the other co-workers find out that your ex-dumper is dating one of their own, two co-workers, two work colleagues dating from the same place of work, that is going to cause problems. It's going to cause pressure. There might be some workplace banter, a little bit of teasing, that type of stuff, which almost sounds like it's from a schoolyard, but it happens, okay? It happens, and it can make people feel awkward. On top of that, there can always be the concern of favoritism. Maybe there is a power imbalance on the two people involved. Either way, whatever the situation, there are additional stresses. And often, people will come to a conclusion that they can't lose their job, they don't want to lose their job, and therefore the relationship is what needs to end, because they can't manage both. They can't manage the relationship and they can't manage their work at the same time due to the pressures, the accusations of favoritism, the teasing. All of those types of things are going to make it feel uncomfortable. So we do genuinely see people who are dating within a workplace end their relationship rather than the alternative, which is actually leaving their job. This could be something that they would have to do on their own accord, or maybe they might even get sacked or fired due to people believing that enough work is not being done because instead there is too much workplace romance. These are things as a dumpee that you don't really want to be considering, but it can help you. So if you want to get your ex back, the first step is your ex needs to be single. And if they're dating a work colleague, as scary as this might seem, the likelihood is eventually it's going to end.